Then, with a wet splop, a large sponge landed at his feet. The boy stared at it. Then he stared at the bear, bobbing in the water a few feet from the bow. "I brought you a present from the bottom," he said. "Have you seen a real live sponge before?" The boy was so amazingly relieved to see him that, naturally, all he could do was shout angrily. "What do you think you're doing? You were gone for ages. I didn't know where you were. Do you know how worried I've been?" Then he shut up, partly because he sounded exactly like his mum, and when she said those things he always told her not to make a fuss, and partly because he suddenly needed to concentrate on not falling over. The bear was climbing back into the boat, which dipped sharply to one side as a result. "I thought you'd be pleased," said the bear, rather tetchily, as he flopped wetly over the side. "I was having a bath so as to be more fragrant to your delicate young nostrils, but I can see the effort has gone unappreciated. And I dived right to the bottom to get you that sponge. That's not easy, you know. Luckily, I'm good at holding my breath." The bear struck what was meant to be a heroic pose, but it was rather undermined by his petulance and the way his fur looked funny when it was wet. "Big lungs," he said proudly, as puddles formed at his feet and drew watery lines along the cracks between the planks. "Aren't you meant to be rowing this thing?" said the boy. He was meant to sound angry, but he was smiling a little as he said it. Inclement weather. The bear rowed, and the boy sat. The boy wasn't sure at first if he could even be bothered with his usual morning look around. But then he didn't really have anything better to do, and he had a long day to fill. So he stood and stretched and looked out over the back of the boat and away to each side and saw only a cloudless blue sky over a featureless blue sea. He decided to take the forward view by surprise. He braced himself, hunched his shoulders, scrunched his eyes shut, and crouched just a little as he counted silently to 3. And then he pounced. He whirled around, jumping on the spot and turning himself to face forward, opening his eyes wide and shouting, "Ha ha!" just for good measure. The bear, who had been in his usual happy daydreaming state as he rowed, leaped inches from his seat in surprise. Then, as he bumped back down, he lost his stroke. One of the oars came up out of the water and skimmed over the surface, while the other dug too deeply in. He hit himself hard in the belly with the handle of one oar, knocking the breath from him, while the other came loose from his grip. He doubled over in pain, but quickly sprang back up to catch at the loose oar as it slid away. Flustered, he lunged at it clumsily, doubling himself over once again and just managing to catch it in time. Still hunched over and a little winded, he looked up at the boy. Angry words gathered behind his teeth, jostling to get out. But he saw that the boy had a surprised expression on his face and was pointing over the bear's head at something. He looked round. There was a cloud. It wasn't a big cloud, it wasn't an interesting shape, it wasn't beautiful, but it was there, breaking the monotony of the sky, a light grey blot amid the flat blue. It was something different, and it had surprised and pleased the boy because of that. The bear threw it a glance and then mustered a scowl for the boy. Then he started rowing again and cheered up almost instantly. They were rowing straight towards the cloud, and as the day passed it grew slowly bigger and darker. "It looks like a storm coming," said the boy. The bear turned for a fresh look. "No, not a storm," he said. "It might get a little bit inclement. Perhaps a drop or two of rain, but not a storm, no." Half an hour later, hard rain lashing at his face, the boy took this up with the bear. "I thought you said there wasn't going to be a storm," he shouted. The bear gave him a puzzled look. This isn't a storm," he said. "This is just a bit of rain." The Harriet leaned over alarmingly as a wave struck it hard on one side. The bear casually dipped an oar into the water, turning them to ride more comfortably over another, even larger wave. "But it's all wrong," said the boy. "What do you mean?" said the bear. "Rain is meant to go this way," said the boy, waving a frantic hand straight up and down. "Not this way!" Now he waggled the same hand horizontally. "Ah, yes, there is a bit of a breeze too, now you mention it," said the bear. The boy gave him an exasperated look. The bear stared firmly back. "I've been in storms, lad," he said. "I've been in real storms, and this isn't one. Believe me." The boy said nothing more. He was still annoyed, but he could see that the bear was genuinely untroubled by the conditions. He steered the boat expertly, riding the waves with ease, showing little more concentration or effort than when the waters were calm. He knew what he was doing. "Don't worry," he said. "This is just a little squall." He glanced up and around, seemingly oblivious to the lashing rain and the biting wind. "It'll soon be—" With an eerie suddenness, the rain stopped, the clouds dissolved, and the sea flattened. "Over," said the bear. The boy wiped a hand across his face, clearing wet hair from his eyes, and looked round in amazement. In all directions, he saw a clear blue sky over a calm blue sea. It was as if the squall had never happened. He almost wondered if he had dreamed the whole thing. Only the ankle-deep water in the bottom of the Harriet, with the rubber duck now floating on top of it, told him otherwise. After the bear had filled his water bottles from the rainwater, and they had both taken a long drink, the boy borrowed the kettle to bail with. And a warm sun set about drying out their sodden clothes and fur. "See," said the bear, his snout turned up to the sky and a happy grin on his face. "It's turned out lovely." The boy, tired and wet and hungry, didn't quite agree, but then they shared the last of the chocolate and he cheered up a bit. He looked through the comic again. He had it out and on the middle bench to dry, and had to turn its soggy pages very carefully to avoid pulling them free from their staples. It took him a long time to get to the end this way, and then, of course, the end wasn't the end anyway.